This is Midlife Virus, and today we are talking about the Omega Mind Way. We're headed in the right direction, and we want to talk about the 3-second rule. How do you redirect the mind in 3 seconds or less? This is your host, Sean Harflinger, and we want to welcome you to Midlife Virus. Warning, adult content. Cover your ears, cover your children's ears, cover your dog's ears. Alpha, beta, cis or data in a world of transitioning definitions. Why not be an omega? And you might be asking yourself, what is an omega? What is this guy talking about? Well, everybody, I want to thank you first of all for joining today's podcast. Today we are talking about what it is to be omega minded. You know what I mean? You can rely on ideas more than you can rely on people. And I know that sounds really negative when it first comes across your ears, but what I am trying to get across is that if you can have a certain ethos, a certain frame of reference, it really makes all the difference in your character and in your virtue sets. And so that's what I'd love to discuss today with you and see if you can see the path that I can see. And so I haven't coined this phrase, not at all. It's nothing new. But to be omega-minded is to have a certain mindset about your worldview, right? Some would call it divine masculinity, right? Some would call it, natural leadership, I guess. They would call it charismatic and character-filled virtue superhero-ness. I guess what it comes down to is that to have a kind of omega-minded mindset, triple say that word, omega-minded mindset. If what it is to have a mindset that allows you to change your worldview in a positive way, it makes the difference. And it looks like this, okay? So to be an omega-minded guy, and I guess we have to set it up like this. Why would somebody want to be an omega? Well, let's define what we're out there with, right? We've got alphas, we've got betas, we've got cis, which, that's a newer term, and we've got an even newer term that I think we might just coin right here, right now, called data. And data is I's and O's, right? Binary, non-binary. It's just a whole mix of I's and O's. And in the beginning, the culture of LGBTQ was a mouthful already. And with the additional stuff, it now has become a test of allegiance. You know what I mean? You have to say the word correctly. It's like having somebody who has a difficult name to pronounce, right? And you're like, ooh, goodness, let me say that again. Here's a great example. I once had a student, and his last name was Ma'afala. He was Samoan, young boy, Ma'afala, okay? The other students would be running around, and because there was more than one Tommy, I addressed one Tommy as, his last name, and the other Tommy by his last name. And so it was Smith and Ma'afala. The other students could not pronounce Ma'afala like I could, because I took care to pronounce it the same way. And so I had all these students out there screaming motherfucker. Hey, motherfucker, motherfucker, motherfucker. Oh, my God. And so it became a pivot just because it was easier for the class. So, so he was Tommy, right? From moving forward, he was Tommy. And so now, since we've got such an inclusive definition for our friends of sexuality, and I say friends of sexuality because we all are sexual beings, and it's my firm belief that orgasms do not discriminate. The only thing that orgasms hate is to be interrupted. And that's my joke. I'll add in the cymbals and the drum snare later. So when it comes to sexuality, I've got 5 kids, and they're all adults now. And as I raised them through this last few decades, all kinds of definitions come across your table. And one thing that was interesting is, one of my children came home one day and said, "Hey, Dad, you're a demisexual." I'm a demisexual, apparently, by my views, my very easy peasy views on sexuality, which is, I'll put it very simple. We all have sexual urges. We all have ideas. We all have ideations about our sexual urges and identity. Cool. Great. As long as you're a consenting adult and it's not like, I don't know, deadly. Even that, though. I personally don't want to die, but that's my own decision. So anyway, when it comes to stuff like that, you can do what you're gonna do. I've got too many life experiences, and we've gone completely off a tangent into the deep end, but that's what happens. I have too many life experiences where there's no way I'm gonna condemn anyone to jail or to death, or, you cannot. Just because your orgasm doesn't discriminate. Well, you can figure that out. That's why we have a free country, at least where I live. I live in the United States, and so here we have many freedoms and many protections, and it's only going to get better with more discussions and clarification. And right now, I think the biggest discussion everybody can have is what ideas are sovereign unto ourselves, and how can we find those sovereign ideas in the planes of solidarity, right? How can my stuff match up with your stuff? And that's what it is to be omega-minded. We start to look at everybody and go, okay, well, cool. These boxes that everybody's in, fine and dandy, and you can color them whatever colors you like. That's great, as long as they all stack together and we can figure this out. Let me give you a larger box, which there's all these big boxes out there, right? Philosophy, religion, you know what I mean? Social media, all kinds of stuff. And so I'm just presenting you with another box, a much bigger, funner, easy peasy box to get into. And it's just a mindset. And the reason why I had to do it is because I had no other choice. It was a mental health decision. It was a healthy mental health decision that I had to do. And that was change my mindset. So I could no longer depend on definitions of the alpha. Couldn't do that. That didn't work anymore. I could no longer depend on definitions of the beta. That wasn't working. Cis, I don't even know what that is. It sounds like such a discriminatory term, right? And since I don't really like to play in discrimination, I'll harken back even to the data thing. Let's just call it data because it's easier to say. It'd be so much easier if we didn't even have names for all this crap. It's pretty obvious when you start talking to somebody. We can just simplify it right back down to the things again, right? The things again. We just really simplify it down to the simplistic stuff like this. Do you want someone to hug you? No. Okay, fine. You don't like to be hugged. And I guess here's a fucking hilarious thing. Me personally, I wouldn't even get into that conversation until I had all these other cool ass questions first, right? Hey, what's your name? Where are you from? Do you like puppies? Do you like the weather? You know what I mean? Yada, yada, yada. There's like 800,000 things to talk about. And then we can talk about all the other stuff, right? So to be omega-minded is kind of, it's so kitschy, isn't it? The name. But it's just something you got to remember. It's just something that helps me remember. It's something that'll help you remember. Like, okay, the end of it. The end of it. Right? You're in an argument. You've been in an argument. You're trying to define all these stupid things. You're like, I'm just done. I'm just done. Here's the thing. I like you. You're cool. I in no way want harm upon you at all. So can we just get to the end of it and agree to agree or agree to disagree? And if, by all means, if some of the stuff that you want to partake in is like, what the hell? Then yeah, we have to have a discussion about that. And if it's illegal in this country, then man, you're gonna have to make some decisions. That's the thing. That's the thing. So there's this whole fight, I guess, with people where they're like, no, I must stay rooted in this place and demand that things change here. Sometimes that doesn't work, right? I guess I've lived by the ocean for too long that I've adopted this view of the world through the lens of the ocean. And so I'll tell you what that looks like. The ocean cares not about your struggle. The ocean doesn't care. The ocean does not care about your struggle. The ocean doesn't even notice you struggling, right? The ocean will only notice if you relax, right? So if you're getting pulled out to sea by the current, you've been pulled out, you're not paying attention, you're talking blah, 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 blah. The next thing you know, you're like, oh, there goes the shore. You're pulled out, and so you start to struggle. Well, first off, that's really bad. You know, you're going to run out of energy, right? Because you're fighting a losing battle. You are going to attract predators because, oh my goodness, dude, predators love the struggle, right? That's a train wreck they want to be there for. So struggling and freaking out in the ocean is a bad idea. So what do? Kind of get your bearing, right? And you start to relax. And then you'll get a moment where you'll be able to swim outside of the current. You know what I mean? You'll break the current. And then slowly you can make your way back to shore using the sets to push you slowly back. And that's a whole nother conversation. But number one advice is don't freak out, right? And so the world is a lot like the ocean. Society, culture, traditions, everything is a lot like the ocean. And the more you struggle, the more chances you're going to attract all kinds of stuff and weigh yourself down. And so a really fun way to approach the ride is to relax. Okay. So let's say you're super passionate about something, right? You're super passionate about your lifestyle, your beliefs, all of that great stuff. Well, first thing you got to do, if you want to be an omega-minded person, if you want to just get to the end, I've got a couple things that we can talk about that can help you, right? I guess the first thing you could do is you could slow down. Slow down. There's this 3-second rule in martial arts, right? And I love to apply it to everything, okay? And the 3-second rule looks like this. You need to engage in sparring within 3 seconds. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Engage. Okay? The 3-second rule applies to a lot of things in life both ways. 3 seconds to act or 3 seconds to think about it. Right? So to be omega-minded is to first of all train your mind to appreciate those 3 seconds. 3 seconds are now your best friends. 3 seconds are now the 3 dots you're going to tattoo on your hand, or it's the 3 pin circles on your hand that you're going to draw. You're just going to now have 3 somewhere. 3, the 3-second rule. 3 seconds to breathe, 3 seconds to move, 3 seconds to think, 3 seconds to wink, hug, kiss your partner, your kids, 3 seconds to say hello to your neighbor, 3 seconds to look someone in the eye and say, hey, right? So the 3-second rule is super cool, super easy. You can apply it to anybody, right? And so when we start to talk about our mindset, our ethos, our frame of reference, we start to now talk about ideas, and we get away from labels. The whole beginning of the segment was alpha, beta, cis, and data. I did all that on purpose because they're annoying boxes. And we went through that whole thing. Serendipity, mixoplex, and supercalifragilistic. Just call it data. That was all a freaking joke, right? Cognitive dissonance, just to get everybody thinking about, yeah, what? Yeah, boxes are lame. Ideas, on the other hand, transcend containers. And so that's what you want to start to think about, okay? 3 seconds to think about a containerless world. 3 seconds to think about the many things you are and the many things that you are not, because you focus on maybe one or two things. Come on already. Human beings, humanity, bugs, trees, animals, rocks, everything get multiple personalities. And so within you, I would implore you to look and explore and enjoy all of them, right? Here's one that you should ignore. Anger. That guy or that girl, they get issues, right? Anger get huge issues. And so I would implore you every single time that you're hurt to just freeze it there at the hurt level, because the next level is anger. And that just gets everybody, in trouble. So it's just hurt. So if you hear somebody, for example, earlier, you're like, Dada, that motherfucker, right there, you're hurt. And by the way, calling me a motherfucker is, reactionary, and it's wrong. Cognitive dissonance is a very healthy and fun thing for your mind to do. It actually feels weird, right? It feels weird. Here's a really good example. I was raised in the 70s and 80s, and during that time, Superman was defined a certain way. It was Superman, and he fell into a field somewhere in Utah or something, like cornfields, and this is a strong little boy, and people bullied him, and he ran around super fast and beat trains and stuff, and he had a dog, and he flew around. He grew up to fall in love with a newspaper girl. He's a very wholesome guy with glasses, you know what I mean? Superman. Lately, I watched a cartoon where Superman landed in Russia, and instead of being American, he was a Russian. And the cognitive dissonance that was in my head, I could actually feel it. It was the craziest thing, but it was super healthy to watch that movie and go, a Soviet Superman, I see. That's interesting. That's what you need to do with your mind. My nose is itchy. That's what you need to do with your mind. You need to test the boundaries of your mind through different ideas. And so, hey, you're in a box. That's sweet. Can you exist outside of the box? And so that's a 3-second rule you can ask yourself. Can I exist outside of the box that I'm in? I try to do this a lot, right? I am in a box called mental health, right? It's a huge, crappy box. And so you often want to escape that box. And guess what? If your brain is the maze that contains you, you're always looking to escape it. And so guess what? You regular folk, right? Quote unquote normal folk, which I think is hilarious because nobody's normal. Nobody is normal. You'll find that out through conversations. Nobody is normal. But anyway, people that haven't really discussed the maze that they're within, I'll discuss it all the time. And maybe you'll discover ways out, or you'll be like, this brother is in the loop. And you can discuss it and call me, right? You can comment on the podcast and say, hey, when you were like 15 minutes in, you said this, that with a wiffle ball bat, and I believe you were mistaken, sir. And yes, you can call me sir. My pronouns are actually the supreme triple dream cream lubricant of the soul, but nobody has respected that at all. So I don't know. Just call me Sean, right? So moving forward, the 3-second rule is a really good rule because what it does is it fosters accountability. And when you want to change your mindset, accountability of what you think is super important, right? So we're starting to look at this box that we're in. We're starting to realize that maybe this box is a little bit too confining. And so we start to ask ourselves, what are the motivations behind being in this box? And this is where being a omega-minded individual is a powerful journey, right? The 30-day Omega way to change the way your mind works today, right? And it all starts with the 3-second rule, right? Just take 3 seconds to ask yourself some questions. What are my motivations? What do I think their motivations are? Why am I here? Is this for me, or is this an act of service? Right? Many of us don't ask ourselves any of these questions, right? But those are the things that really help you define yourself. And remember, that's what Omega means. It's the end. We want to be Omega minded. We want to define ourselves. And here's the great thing about it. If you stand for something, you do not fall for anything. You've heard that probably 100,000 times. Yeah, in your life. I just banged my desk. Sorry. If you're not watching the fantabulous YouTube video, and you're more than welcome to watch the fantabulous YouTube videos, I just banged my knee on the desk. For those of you that are listening on the podcast, imagine me swiveling and hitting my knee on the desk and the entire thing shaking like an earthquake. That visual is now in your brain. Okay, moving on. The 3-second rule is the first thing you want to do to change your mindset. And you're like, why? Well, I'll tell you why. I shall tell you why. To retrain your thought process, you have to catch yourself you have to catch yourself red-handed in the thought process. And so the 3-second rule is a wonderful first step to train yourself to catch yourself in those moments, right? So here's a couple moments that people can catch themselves in, right? And the 3-second rule will help you. Resting prick face. If you have resting prick face, the 3-second rule is amazing. It will catch you with your resting prick face. Just like if you have resting race face, right? If you're out there with resting race face, you know, a 3-second rule would be really, really, really good for you, because you'd be amazed what resting race face has done to the world. Because I've traveled. I am a minority here in Hawaii. And, you know, when I was growing up, I saw racism left and right, right? And so resting race face, from what I can tell, is international, right? So the 3-second rule catches you. Not only does it catch you, but you can catch others, right? You'll be like, whoa. And instead of going off and be like, you can be like, bro, look at this guy. He is not even aware of his resting race face, you know, or the resting prick face, or their inability to just take 3 seconds and hear me out. So the 3-second rule, man, is a wonderful tool to get you to think and retrain your brain. Okay? If you can catch yourself, that's the first part of cognitive therapy. Cognitive meaning my mind is aware and cognitive of me flipping that switch and saying, it is now time for the 3-second rule. Everything in your mind, please stand by. It is the 3-second rule time. That's how that works, right? And so if you start to apply the 3-second rule, it's amazing. Here is a really cool positive thing that comes from the 3-second rule, is that there's the other half of it. So you have one half that says, I must apply 3 seconds to think about this situation and assess everything that I have attained. The other part of this 3-second rule is like this: get to the chopper and move your ass. So that's the fun part of the other half of the coin. One half is patience and introspection, and the other half of the 3-second rule is move your ass. So I love that. That probably just blew your ears and all the speakers in your car. You know, I apologize for that. And you can send the invoice to Arnold Schwarzenegger for inspiring such actions, because it was him. I had to evoke my inner commando just then and, you know, bring that 3-second example right to you. So enjoy the Gen X flashback. You know, after you start to use the 3-second rule, and you're going to want to do this like all the time, every day. Don't do it in an intersection. Don't do it, underwater with no air. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things. Don't do it in dangerous situations. Don't do it, make sense of what you're doing. But I implore you to be very mindful of the 3-second rule. Write it down on a Post-it note. Put it on a note, you know what I mean? Make a fun little cute thing. 3 seconds. Talk to your family, your friends, your children about it. Start to use it every day, because you will slowly begin to retrain the way you think. And so that, I think, is probably the biggest gift right in the beginning. Because then you're like, well, what do I fill up my mind with now? If I'm retraining my brain, right? If I'm trying to become omega-minded, right? If I'm trying to become a better idea of myself, well, what does that look like? I'm taking 3 seconds now to think about things. Okay, well, this is what we do. An omega-minded individual is somebody who has virtue, right? They're virtuous, right? You're going to hear me say divine all the time, and I'm going to define divine as such. Safe. You know what I mean? You're safe. You're not only safe, but you are... How do you explain this? I explain it like this. When a toddler comes up and hugs me, I am a safe place that recharges their energy because they know nothing can hurt them. So to be divine is to be that presence, right? So for your friends, to be a divine friend would be somebody that your friends could be honest to you about, that they know that you have the courage to apologize, right? So when we start to talk about virtue, that's what a higher dimension of thinking is you start to carry virtue with you, right? So to be to be a Lego in the Lego-minded universe, no, to be an omega-minded individual is to just hold yourself to a higher form, a bigger box, right? So it starts with virtue. And so you're trying to now fill these 3 seconds with virtue. You have this 3-second rule now in place. Somebody said something, and you're like, I've got 3 seconds. Well, second one, attain the information. See what's going on, right? That's second one. Attain the information that's about you. That's what you want to do. 3 seconds gives you the time to think things out, right? The second thing is to advance, right? So you have attained the information. Actually, I take that back. You attain the information, then you assess it, and then you advance. And so you've got 3 seconds. Attain, assess, advance. And what I mean by that is to attain everything is just take everything in. Look about the restaurant. Look about the room, the windows, the people, the body language, the pheromones. You know what I mean? What led up to what you're doing now. And then assess it. Be honest, right? Just be honest. Be empathetic. Assess it. And then advance. And advance doesn't mean attack. Advance does not mean attack. Advance means advance this situation. The best way to advance a situation is through discussion, right? You want to de-escalate any kind of hate and aggression, because that is actually the antithesis of where we're trying to go, right? We want to pause everybody at hurt. We don't want to go to the next stage. Anger is nothing more than a reaction to being hurt. And so an omega-minded person, somebody who's just at the end already, hey, I already defined this. I got it. You're angry. Can we and rewind it back to you being hurt? Because that's the spawn. That's what omega-minded individual is going to want to do. They're going to want to take that 3 seconds, and this is how I utilize it. I utilize my 3-second rule with virtue, right? So we have this moment of virtue, right? And virtue is character, it's grace, it's humility. 3 seconds is a lot of time. Let's count this again. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. That's enough time to walk up, shake somebody's hand, and smile. That's enough time to stop, look at somebody, say good morning, and smile. That's enough time to stop, look at your partner, smile, and pinch their butt. You know what I mean? 3 seconds is a lot of time to do a lot of stuff. And so 3 seconds can be a time that you can also do this. You can be a visionary, you know, to be a next level. So humanity stops being humanitarian when we don't help each other out, right? So one of the things that you want to do is you want to have this humanitarian part of your mindset. And one of the coolest things that you can do for another person is explain their vision. And what I mean by explaining their vision is that oftentimes people cannot see the truth of their own story. Sometimes they don't even believe it. They can't even see it. They don't want to believe it. They haven't even been introduced to it. And so as a steward unto others, one of the greatest things that we can do is share the vision of another to themselves, right? And it sounds like this. You know, I have seen you work and you are very passionate, and your aptitude just from your passion alone, there's a lot of great things that are going to come from that, right? Super easy to give somebody a compliment. It's very easy to build people up, to raise people up. And so after you've assessed and you've advanced upon stuff, one of the ways that you can advance another is through vision, right? You can clarify a vision for them that they might not have known. You can vocalize that vision, right? I'll be vulnerable right now. One of my biggest, I have to tamp this down, but one of my biggest mistakes, and I can't say it's a mistake, I'm just so overly zealous. I am really, really, really good at seeing somebody's brightest vision. I can look at somebody, and from the story you tell me, I can see it. I see it. It's amazing. And what I tend to do is I tend to share that with people, right? So I've been a coach for a long time. I've been a martial arts instructor for a long time. And as a martial arts instructor, that's what you do. You see a brand new student and you have to extrapolate their aptitude. You have to look at them and then be a time traveler. You know what I mean? And you have to be positive to go forward in time. Progress is only visible to people that are positive, right? So you have to travel forth in time and you look at this young student or this old student. It varies. And you have to have this positive mindset, this visionary quest of their ultimate aptitude. And then guess what you do? You lay out a plan and you walk together with them and you inspire them and remind them and work on these goals together. And one of the coolest things ever is to watch them transition over that horizon. That's amazing. So here we are doing the exact same thing with this Omega-minded discussion, with this 30 days to change the Omega way. I don't know. You know, it's just something that I know that if you can start to employ the 3-second rule, if you can fill up those 3 seconds with acts of virtue, if you can fill up those 3 seconds with acts of vision and testimony to another, you can fill up those 3 seconds with your voice, right? The power of being vocal is another thing that an Omega-minded person is. Since you're at the end and you now are defining these bricks in your palace, You know what I mean? The bricks of the wall. You know what I mean? What you build, the culture of yourself are all these bricks. You know what I mean? The culture within your mind, the definitions of your palace, the houses in your community. This is the culture you create. To be an omega-minded person is just a kitschy name, so you remember what it is what it looks like to build your own culture. And this is just an easy outline. It's a discussion. If no one's ever had this discussion, then this discussion is meant for us. My dad, the men in my life, nobody had these discussions. These discussions are coming out my mouth because they're discussions that I want to have. They're discussions that I've had with my sons and my daughters and my wife and my friends, right? Because they're discussions that are so much cooler than somebody's TikTok cleavage, right? Or somebody's political hatred. These ideas go beyond people, right? These ideas can be developed and practiced and employed in your life, and they'll just help you be a more tolerant person and honestly more authentic. And that's where the special sauce of life is being authentic and genuine. So you can do that by stripping away lots and lots of labels. And so we'll do it this way with the Omega-3 Strip Away the Labels with Me 30-day challenge. It sounds so lame. I'm just messing with you, right? I'm right here doing it with you. I'm right here doing the 3-second rule every day with myself. And it's because I've got, PTSD and a traumatic brain injury. And so the only way to get back to normal and healthy is you got to retrain your brain, right? So I'm just here right with you saying, hey, let's do this. Let's retrain our brain together. It's a thing. It's a constant thing. It's not a one and done thing. That's why all the memes online, and that's why all the just think differently. Nah, it's not that easy. You know what I mean? I can walk this path with you. Starts with 3 seconds. Okay, so we have spent our time recognizing what the 3-second rule is. We've spent our time talking about omega-minded and the aptitudes within. We've talked about how do I fill up these 3 seconds? Well, we're not done doing that, right? We attain, we assess, we advance. We can advance others by raising them up through virtuous acts and visionary explanations of their aptitude and how amazing they are. We can become vocal and vocalize these virtues and characters in our community, to our friends and our family. I am not saying knock door to door. No, I'm just saying things like this. Here's a really good example. A friend of mine, a friend of a friend through a friend's friend, insulted me and my wife. And he never apologized. And so I took it upon myself to apologize publicly for any of my trespasses, because courage comes through service to others. And if you don't think an apology is not a service unto another, you might want to check everybody and their unclaimed baggage, right? All their unresolved conflict, all those open wounds that are just waiting for an apology. And so if you can have the courage to apologize, woohoo, you can have the courage to do all kinds of things. And so you cannot expect an apology without the power to give one. A lot of people make that mistake. They think unto themselves they are due everything, but in order to accept apology, you have to be able to give one. And you're like, well, what if I did nothing wrong? Your apology can also be defined as forgiveness. I apologize for hating you. Or whatever's, right? So forgiveness is just another euphemism for an apology. So in order to receive, you have to learn how to give, right? And so to be vocal is to learn how to find your voice and do those things, right? Another way that you can fill the void, the 3-second void, is with vulnerability. Now, I love this one. I love filling the 3-second void with vulnerability because it's honesty. That's where the authentic soul sauce comes from. You can sit there and say these words: I am hurt because. And those are powerful. That right there is a defining moment. That is an omega moment. To be able to find your voice within your virtue and express that vision within the sentence, I am hurt because, is one of the most honest things you can do. One of the most authentic things you can do. Because number one, and you should be very proud of yourself for this. Number one, you resisted, Lord Palpatine. You resisted the Sith way. You resisted darkness. You listened to Yoda. You decided not to follow anger and pain and the dark side. So by right there, expressing that simple sentence, I am hurt because, that is the most powerful part of being vulnerable. So you can fill that 3-second rule with 3 seconds of vulnerability. Vulnerability also looks like this. That scared the shit out of me. I am fearful. I am freaking out because in my mind, I haven't spoken to you in 3 days and I thought Bigfoot ate you, or, oh my God, I haven't heard about your grades in a month. And when people are afraid and they don't have information, they insert their fear into the open blocks, and I'm scared shitless. What's going on? So that's another version of vulnerability. Vulnerability comes when you say, I am hurt because. Vulnerability comes when you say, I am afraid because. Vulnerability comes from when you say, I am anxious because. I am nervous because. I am frightened. I feel I might lose something. Am I this? Are you that? Vulnerability comes with those admissions, and you would be amazed what you could admit in a moment of vulnerability within 3 seconds. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Right now, if you're in a private place, let's say you're in your car, if you're jogging, if you're in the woods, look around. If you're in the woods, make sure there's no animals, cougars, alligators, whatever. But if you are alone right now, while I count the next 3 seconds, say to yourself as many vulnerable fears and confessions as you can within 3 seconds. You would be amazed. Ready? Here we go. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, and stop. I bet you came up with all kinds of stuff. Did it feel good? One of the things that we can do that's super healthy is to track those lists. And so vulnerability comes with, I am hurt, I am afraid, I am anxious. The 3-second rule gives you 3 seconds to fill up that void. Oh, that sounded so funny. The 3-second rule gives you 3 seconds to fill up that void. See, I had to pronounce it the right way. Void came out so... I just died when I said the word void. No, 3 seconds is a 3-second opportunity to fill the void, right? With either virtue, with vision and testimony to another, with vocalization through your voice, through a moment of vulnerability. You can also fill the 3 seconds with viability. Yeah, it's kind of related to the visionary part, but now the viability part that you're putting into the 3 seconds is you're planting seeds that include everybody. And so now this is like a teamwork thing. So during these 3 seconds, you now speak of viable options and positive futures, like, oh my God, remember, you and I have got this thing together. You and I can do this. We're a team. We're together, because loyalty is a very powerful mindset. And so when you are employing 3 seconds into the world to either think about it or act upon it, loyalty needs to be there. And so viability is an assertion of loyalty, and loyalty is super important. And so what you do is you fill those 3 seconds up with that viable nudge of the seed into the ground. Hey, we're doing this together. And it can grow into something, because loyalty and hope are amazing, right? They are amazing motivators. They are synergistic. They are powerful identifiers. And so when you have this 3-second void in the world, you're trying to apply these 3 seconds, the 3-second rule of viability is there, and it's attainable. We have talked a lot about how we fill the 3-second void. The 3-second rule, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. The 3-second rule is the beginning part of retraining your brain, of rewriting the code. You don't want to be in a box anymore? Sweet. Write a new box, draw a new box. And so within those 3 seconds, you can change so many things, right? And another thing that you can do is you can switch your vibration. Now, we've talked about being virtuous, having vision, being vocal, vulnerable, viable. A vibrational shift within 3 seconds is also super important. And think of it as a de-escalation event, right? So you come up upon a very tense situation, and you now have an opportunity to sync your vibration. It is never black and white. It is case by case, and you already know this to be true. Syncing your vibration is not just with violence or tense moments. Syncing your vibration happens when you walk into a room. Syncing your vibration happens when you hug your wife, your sister, your grandma, the librarian, whomever. You know what I mean? Syncing your vibration is a whole thing, and you can do that within 3 seconds. Okay? And now think about it. You've had all these previous examples, and so you're now starting to learn, like, yeah, I've got 3 seconds to either de-escalate, match, or escalate, right? Because that's how that works. You either, de-escalate and, disassemble the aggression. You match it, you know what I mean, and create that force field, right? There's a force field of tension that you can create by matching the vibration. Or you can overpower and completely jam it through, superior aggression. The first one is my preferred one. And 3 seconds, a lot of people are like, you never have enough time. I have been in hundreds of street fights. That's a whole nother story. But owning a kung fu school in Makaha, Hawaii, which is Makaha's on Oahu, it's a violent neighborhood. And there was lots of fights, not because I was out there starting fights. It's because if you are an omega-minded person and you're applying the 3-second rule, that means if you see a guy drunken, slapping his wife and kids, you've got 3 seconds to make a decision. My decision is protect women and children. That's what I mean. So you act. I guess the next one, the next V is vicious. Just because you're good doesn't mean you have to be nice, right? So earlier, just 3 seconds ago, we're talking about matching the vibration. Well, sometimes the vibration is vicious. And I mean vicious as in quick and defining. Vicious is quick and defining. Quick and defining. Quick and defining in a street fight for me looked like a rear naked chokehold and 911. Super simple. Sidestep, work an angle, get up behind the guy, rear naked chokehold, 911, and hold him till the cops get there. Super easy. I didn't have to throw anybody through glass windows and Chuck Norris the hell out of people with bald eagles and nunchucks. No, you just slip them, work an angle, get up behind them, get a rear naked chokehold, and hold them till the cops get there. Now, you're probably like, well, you're an idiot. All these people are getting choked to death with rear naked chokeholds. I'm not an idiot. I was actually training people as a martial arts instructor. And so if you apply a rear naked chokehold the correct way, it doesn't restrict anybody's breath. If anything, it creates this whole governor on the arteries, and you can put people to sleep and wake them back up, and it's like playing an accordion. It's very safe, and you really don't apply it to be a destructive person. It's like a hold, pretty much, right? And so if you do it a lot, and I've done it a lot, you know that you don't want to crush the trachea and the esophagus, and you know that you just want to snug up and apply pressure, right? And so nobody even thinks they're being choked if you apply it the right way. They just know that they're being held, and all of a sudden they're a little woozy. What's happening, right? And so that's how you safely apply that. And so to be vicious is just to be quick and define a moment of aggression. It doesn't mean that you are taking people out. There's no destruction of bodily function. You're not breaking bones or any of that kind of stuff. I was never really that martial artist, honestly. To own a kung fu school in a small community means you become a steward, and so everybody knows everybody. So why would I want to, oh yeah, I killed Uncle Joe. What the hell is that about? You have to have discretion. That's what 3 seconds enables you to do. The magic of the 3-second rule enables you the practice. Let's say you don't even have 3 seconds. If you have trained yourself to employ the 3-second rule, you've gotten good already at going 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. So now you know what you've gotten good at? 1, 1,000. You've also gotten good at 2, 1,000, right? And that's the cool thing about that 3-step, 3-second process, right? A wonderful gift, the 3-second rule. And so you want to apply it as much as you can. You want to apply it with virtue. You want to apply it with vision. You want to apply it with your voice and vocalizing it. You want to be vulnerable. You want to be viable and remind people of the team. You want to be able to match that vibration. You want to be able to be vicious and act upon it. And you want to serve it I can't even say it. Vehemently. Okay, there I said it. Vehemently. You want to serve it as a steward unto yourself and others. Because it only takes 3 seconds to be a good person. It only takes 3 seconds to employ character, virtue, patience, tolerance, reasonability, logic. And so I invite you to come with me, join me as I join myself on this virtuous journey of 30 days to become Omega-minded. Change the way you are in 30 days. And this is what it's going to look like. Every day, we're going to talk about something different. We're going to talk about a different affirmation, a different plan, a different workout, a different strategy, a different cognitive dissonance, something that changes the way we think, I just lost my freaking tongue. It walked right out of my mouth. A different definition to what we are. That's what this 30-day program is going to look like. And we're going to start it in a couple of weeks, right? And so we're going to get everybody ready. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to start it. 30 days to do it another way, right? I need to lose some weight. I don't know about you guys. If there's anybody out there that needs to lose some weight, one of the things that's going to be in the 30-day Omega Way plan is going to be getting past the painful reunion. And the painful reunion is when you haven't worked out for a while. And I'm going to be honest. I have not worked out in a month. I have been depressed. A good friend of mine got hurt. One of my best friends. And he got hurt. And he's been hurt. And I just lost it. I lost it, man. I lost it. I was so depressed. I wasn't doing anything. I was eating. That's what I was doing. I was munching through my misery. And then I woke up like a week ago. I realized, oh, what the hell. So, you know what? Great. What a great time for the painful reunion. The painful reunion of getting back into shape, not working out in a month. The painful reunion of getting past your depressive sugar cravings. The painful reunion of making up lost time and work. The painful reunion of discussing your fears and all that good stuff with your friends. And I invite you to join me as I join myself, right? Put this painful reunion together. Put this 30-day Omega mind-changing thing together, and then I'm going to start it. And then you can do it with me. You don't have to do it with me. You can watch me. It sounded so weird. You could watch me. Should I do that? Should I have a live feed? I'm kidding. Anyway, I've rambled on. I want you to listen to this word from our sponsors, and I want you to join me next week for the Omega-Minded section part 2. And now a word from our sponsors. Funky Puppy Productions. If you need a production done, Funky Puppy Productions can do it for you. Visit us at funkypuppyproductions.com.
We've got the gear for whatever realm you decide to reside. Interdimensionaloutfitters.com.
Caring for mothers. MalamaYourMama.com. Malama Your Mama is an organization that is all about caring for mothers. To malama is to care. And one of the greatest gifts that we can give our mothers and new mothers is that support system that they so desperately need. Together, we can teach the world to malama our mamas, just like our mamas have malamaed us. We want to dedicate this organization and its proceeds to all the strong mothers out there that have honored us. We want to steward healthy mothers and to raise mothers up. Together, we can malama our mamas. Caring for mothers. Help us by visiting malamayourmama.com and supporting our cause. Mahalo. This has been another episode of Midlife Virus. Mahalo for watching, and please like our page, subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Facebook at Midlife Virus. You can also find us on Instagram at Midlife Virus on Instagram. If you've got it in ya, you can find us on YouTube at My Midlife Virus on YouTube. I want to thank you and invite you to join us again next episode. This is Midlife Virus, and thank you once again for joining me today. You can visit us at midlifevirus.com and watch us at My Midlife Virus on YouTube. Subscribe today.
Aloha, I'm Senior Grandmaster Elder Koskos. I'd like to invite you to join us to get to know the International Kajukenbo Association. The IKA is a worldwide organization that champions integrity, knowledge, and accountability. Unity is our mission. Join us.